Wednesday, the 11th of March. I don't know why I do that because people are going to watch this hopefully a year from now. um, I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about a dog that I've been working with, and excuse me, in a lot of ways, I often feel like I need a HIPAA policy for the dogs and the clients that I work with, because things are often extremely difficult, extremely challenging. Families can be really stressed out, really overwhelmed, often embarrassed, often worried about what their neighbors are going to think, and so on. And we have a lot of times when we're dealing with an aggressive dog, a dog with an aggressive behavior, we are making some tough decisions, some really, really tough decisions about whether that dog can even stay in the home or whether that dog can even stay alive. So, one of the dogs that I'm working with he's been demonstrating some severe resource guarding issues lately. And if we look back, so what I do when I do this analysis is I look back in time. I ask the family to think about where they saw the first instance of something. And they often don't know right off the top of their head, but with a series of questions of things that just often seem random to them or completely out of left field or not even connected, I can start to help see the picture and develop the story, develop the information that helps us understand that dog. The dog can help us do that too, and that comes a lot. You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but it certainly comes a lot from being able to read the energy of an animal, being able to understand what I see, what I feel, and what he's telling us, right? So this particular dog had a lot of warning signs, over the years that in many respects the family, but even before they were a family, thought were cute, were adorable, until they weren't. So when I first got the phone call, I understood that this animal had an issue with children, and he's actually snapped at, which by definition is a bite. It's a controlled and restrained bite, but it is a big warning, right? But he's also made contact more than once with more than one kid, not the same kid, but a couple. And we have found that to really be when the dog was under pressure in a small space and a very persistent child, right? Does it make it okay? Does it explain it away? No. But at least we start to understand what we might have to do to manage this dog's environment and to keep everybody safer. Fast forward, this dog has been to puppy school, obedience class, went off to a board and train for even more training. Really highly trained animal. And the thing that kept rattling in my head was this dog is overtrained. And it took me about 3 days of seeing this dog days in a row to understand this, right? And it's interesting to me because if I had just seen this dog for 1 hour weekly lessons, I would have missed it. I would have missed seeing it myself. But the family had described that the dog would be very excited. Like he'd get out of the car, he's over aroused. And he's sort of pulling and dragging his owner, and just all this forward energy, this very aroused energy towards the things that have him excited. And that could just be entering somebody's new house, right? And that's the case here. They described a dog that would get over that would settle down. But what I saw after really, I spent 3 days with this dog, multiple hours at a time. We did a deep immersion workshop. What I saw was a dog that was obedient, but not settled, not calm. His mind never shifted gears to a relaxed state of being. He was alert. He was attentive. Is there another command coming? Is somebody going to move? Are we going somewhere? What's next? I mean, he was just vigilant in anticipation of the next thing. He never relaxed. So we took him out. I, of course, started doing some essential oils work with him the first day that he got here. We had done a wellness review prior to their arrival, and this was about a week in advance. We talked about changing this dog's food. You guys are going to hear me talk about this. Dogs that have aggression and arousal, anxiety, all of those things, even our allergy dogs, we have to look at the food. This dog was being fueled by what Chinese medicine would call a hot protein and an inflammatory food, which frankly is chicken. So one of the things I said, their food was, even though at a upper end price point, upper end quality of kibble, it had a huge amount of carbohydrate in it. I don't remember the number, but 40% plus is ringing in my head at the moment. And that's what I see more often than not, is a significant amount of carbohydrate. I think he was at 51% carbohydrate, if memory serves me right. It's a lot, y'all. It's a lot. And that is sugar that the body has to find a way to do something with. And this dog, of course, is burning it, but it's burning through arousal. It's burning through anxiety. It's burning, right? And so when I tie all that back to the Chinese medicine stuff, you hear me use a word like burning, and we're talking about heat. We're talking about inflammation. These are dogs that can be grumpy. These are dogs that can be attitudinal. These are dogs that can be angry. These are dogs that can be hot-headed, quick off the handle, fly off the handle. You might be thinking I'm describing some humans too, but it's amazing how all this stuff can tie in together. So we did a food change. We are doing my detox protocol. There's a couple of layers of it, and I'll work through it with some of you guys if we need to. Some of it's a dietary change. Some of it is we look at homeopathy to add to see if we are dealing with the potential of a type of vaccinosis, right? A response to vaccines of the past. We will do things that support and cleanse the liver, support and detox the liver. Chinese medicine tells us that anger and aggression live in the liver. Arousal, anxiety lives, let me rephrase that. Anxiety lives in the kidneys. Arousal lives in the adrenal glands. And this dog, his body's overloaded. So let me back up to the behavior I saw. One of the things that triggered for me was he was trying to come in my house one morning, and they got him out of the car. He waits beautifully to get out, but he is primed and ready to leap, right? He is not, when that hatch opens, he is not settled. He is like, how long do I have to sit here? I'll do it as long as you want me to, but as soon as you snap, I'm moving. He's not relaxed. There's a built-in anticipation, and he's been, in my opinion, trained into that anticipation. So they get him out. He sits, very obedient. He will sit as long as you want him to, but his mind doesn't settle. He knows the next thing is coming in the house, and he's primed and ready for it. And when he does get in the house, he's primed and ready for whatever is next. So the exercise that needs to really happen is a patience exercise. that he sits in the back of that car or he sits on the driveway, even without being in command. In other words, I would not want them to cue him to sit. If he chooses to do it, and he probably will because he's built into that right now. He's got an auto sit as coming out of the car. But I would want to release him from command and stand there with them until he gives up hope that he's coming in the house. Until he just says, either I'm tired of standing here, I'm going to lay down and relax, or we're going to go do something different. I don't know what's going to happen next. And he shifts gears. So this dog's going to have to shift little by little, but because he is highly primed, highly fueled, highly anticipating whatever is next, our work is not more training. Our work is not more training for this dog. Our work is to get him to learn to relax, to trust experiences that other people, children, other dogs, even his handlers, even his, guardian parent people, that their activities have nothing to do with him. It's not about him, right? And so the answer and the protocol that we're working on right now is this dietary change, a homeopathy protocol, and a bunch of essential oils to get to the emotional root, to help him start to relax, to help him to start to take the edge off, and ideally to create a release, which again, I know some of you who are not open to this modality of work think that I am speaking voodoo witchery stuff, right? And it's not something that's going to happen immediately. It's not something that's going to happen like you put an oil on him and poof, we're better. Sometimes it takes quite a long time. And sometimes it is a release of one layer and we're still holding on to some of the other stuff. We can't make them release. We can't make ourselves release. They're going to hold on to things as long as they need to and as long as you do. So part of the work that I'm doing is teaching the family how to respond differently, how to relax themselves, and also to give this dog some freedom that is not command obedience driven at all times. This dog is overtrained, but he's also very much under a great deal of stress and anxiety that is so built into who he is right now. He reacts without thinking. He reacts poorly. He gets frustrated easily. And so think about that. If everything you do is sort of regimented and that regiment starts to change, how frustrating is that for you? Your expectations get shifted, right? That didn't go the way I thought it was going to do. Now what? And so this is a dog that we have to let get frustrated. Now we have to do this safely. And I'm not saying we're going to agitate and create drama for this dog, but I am going to let him go through some frustrations. And that's going to be, classic example, standing in the driveway without being in a command, doing absolutely nothing until he decides, well, maybe we're not going in that house after all. And then likely doing something very different, even just a mill around the yard or get back in the car a couple of times or whatever before we ever come in the house, so that he has no anticipation of what's going to happen next. A simple example of this for some of you too, and he's an extreme case, don't get me wrong, he is an extreme case. But I see this in obedience training all the time, and a lot of people create it. We'll ask the dog to do a sit stay. We've got a 20-foot long line. And we will walk 20 paces away from that dog. So dog's out here. I can't even see myself. Dog's out here. We're here. 20 feet. We walk out. We make a U-turn to look at the dog, and we call him to come. If you've done that repetitively, your dog knows that you're going to do that. You're going to walk to the end of the leash, turn around, and the moment you turn around, you're going to call him to come. So he's usually moving before people even give the cue. That's anticipation. That's, I know what's coming next, so I'm going to be successful at it. So I train the people, don't do that. Walk around, turn around, do nothing. Walk out, turn around, walk back. Walk past, come back, make a circle. Be unpredictable in what you are going to ask next. Once the dog knows the skills, be unpredictable. And use time. This is one of the things we miss a lot, is the duration that it takes, the patience that it takes for a dog to get settled on place, to know that his downstay is going to be a very long time, and to know that when we get out of the car, we might not be going in the store or into the house. We might do something different. That is the simplistic element of starting to help this dog change gears. The work for this dog, who has lived in this sort of high state of anxiety and this highly disciplined training for the last 4 years, is going to be hard to unravel. And that's why I keep saying more training isn't the answer. It's a type of training, it's behavior mod, but it's not more obedience work. It's using things very differently and going after this nutritional piece, going after how his body feels, the fuel that it gets, the calming, even somewhat sedative element, that's the word I'm looking for, sedative elements of essential oils, or even a CBD perhaps, matched with nutrition and the detox work that we have to work on with the adrenal glands and the kidneys and the liver, because it is so all tightly integrated. All of that matters. And without that, this family is not going to have the solution that they're looking for. They still may have to decide, we can't do this. We can't keep this dog in our home because they are expecting a kid. They're expecting a baby this fall. Also because the dog got really aggressive with the new dog that they brought into the house. I don't know that I mentioned that earlier, but they did. They brought a new puppy into the house, and some food got involved unexpectedly, and the new dog almost died. Bad dog fight. Bad dog fight. And so when you see that, and you're expecting a baby, and you got this other dog in the house, and you're like, oh my God, this can't happen anymore. And you're overwhelmed, and you're really stressed out about the whole thing. Training alone is not a resolution for this guy. We have to look at all the pieces and all the parts and go after his well-being and his state of mind and rearrange a lot of this training to throttle back some of the pressure that he's under. And then from there, using safety protocols like tiebacks to the wall, muzzles, really great leadership and confidence from the family, then we may have a better way forward, but only they can make that decision. And without all the pieces, that decision would be even more difficult. So they're putting in the work. They're putting in the effort to do all of these things. And my coaching for them is not training. It is all state of mind, all nutrition, all wellness for everybody involved. So I hope this gives you a little insight into some of the really fascinating cases that I like to work on, and how it's so much more than obedience training. Let me know if you have any questions.